All right, y'all, we're going to check out this boudoir photography business and see if it has BSS for these two Google searches. All right, so we're back in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. And as always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video up on the top, homepage, wherever. Now, this is because FSIC explains that all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got in white down there, our intent, basically our intent spectrum, highest intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And so if a boudoir photography business is rising, it's most likely bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, the whole length. And if a boudoir photography business is falling, then most likely it's missing, not bringing in, some cohort of people. Now, the highest 10 people over on the left are doing things like Google search, social media search, like a boudoir photo shoot in their city, like right now. And those people are fastest to the money, highest to convert. We talk about that with BSS here in our videos. And then our sister brand, way at the end over there, name is Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. That's where we are talking about BLCS. But right now, we're only currently working with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So on to BSS. BSS is boudoir search sameness. As when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google for the highest intent buyer keywords in their city. And so 0 slots is awful. I mean, we're basically dead at that point. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page 2. So 80% of Google searches literally, one and done Google searches, or page 1 and done Google searches. So from page 2, only approximately 20% of searches of people searching will ever even find us. And page 1 slot, that's not good either. Or 1 slot on page 1. I mean, it's better, but we're still basically invisible because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1. If we go one of them, then there's basically 9 other boudoir photographers with 1 slot. Best scenario. Worst scenario is if another boudoir photographer is like 2 or 3, and then we're going to really never getting looked at. But let's say everyone has 1. And guess what a buyer's doing? They're going down, clicking open everyone's link on page 1, because approximately 80% of buyers ain't even hitting page 2. And guess what? They're contacting everyone on page 1, getting a quote from everyone, comparing, price gets shoved down through the roof or down through the floor, and kind of steals margin from everyone. So 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google, no. As BSS, we cannot deal with any of that. And that's because 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's super common, it's accepted, but symptom of 2 deeper root causes, and those are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, yeah, basically everyone knows this. It's like, seems like every week somebody gets a new iPhone, and then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile and their websites and the National Boudoir. That's kind of taking competition, page 1 organic slots away from us. Or someone gets a camera, and they're posting to the mom groups in the National Boudoir. Also, big wave of this happened during COVID. People lost their jobs, they still earn money. So as a result, everyone's got a smartphone and an awesome camera. So pretty easy people to say that they now for boudoir. But what that does increase the supply of boudoir photographers, but the number of buyers remains the same. So it makes it harder for every seller, every boudoir photographer to be getting those clients. All right, so everyone knows that. Basically, everyone knows that. Basically, nobody knows about this second thing, which is the false belief of page 1 equality. So that is kind of boudoir photographers kind of automatically assuming without even questioning that every boudoir photographer is entitled, to like either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe they had their slot 8 on page 1 of Google with their website. So new boudoir photographers came in, ranked higher, and got pushed out to page 2. And it's like, oh, well, every boudoir photographer gets 0, 1 slots on page 1 of Google. It is what it is. And basically, they're believing there's nothing that can be done about it. This is 100% incorrect. And I know this for a fact because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days with this new strategy we're going to show you all today, or that I'll describe today. And it's kind of like we got to break through the mental barrier of accepting this as a false belief. And then once we do that, we can see, okay, there is a solution out there that we'll get to in like 2 pictures here. That, okay, we can use this to actually literally get as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort for. Next, a boudoir photographer BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So, disappearing boudoir photographer. Basically, if we got 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google, we're disappearing because we're either on page 2 or deeper, and approximately 8% of searchers are never going to find us, and that's the bulk of the market that we care about. And if we got one slot on page one of Google. We're being price shopped against the other 9, destroying our margins. We're basically invisible anyways. And we care about this because the disappearing boudoir photographer is the warning light. It's kind of the the red flag going up, where the disappearing boudoir photographer precedes the boudoir photography business itself disappearing. So that's why we care about that. And we got our micro universe here. We got disappearing with boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one the false belief of page one equality, where we accept it's a false belief. So we're like, okay, now what's the solution? Boom, we finally got a solution. But through our testing, we've learned that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we know this works because we invented it. It's what I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, in only 10 days. And I mean, it works exactly as it's described. We saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, pick up as many slots on social as possible on social search, and that kind of acts as like the backside of the Andes Mountains in South America, where the streams, small rivers from the backside of the Andes Mountains actually all flow together to the Amazon River, and into the big Amazon River. That big Amazon River is like page one of Google, and so, but it all starts with social search saturation. That's where it all stems from. And the cool thing about this is the only solution I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation, so maintain the business and not decline, but also still grow in the face of market saturation, and for it to happen relatively quickly. And those at least visible results of getting on page one of Google to happen relatively quickly. The only other solution that I have seen is having a strong brand, but that takes 5 to 10 years, which doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria that we need. Because dude, we're in the AI. Dude, AI taking peep shops. We gotta get as much. We gotta get as much slots on page one as Google as possible before AI starts taking people's jobs. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see. SQ methodology can do this. So imagine we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got their websites and they shoot boudoir. So page one competition is insanely crazy. And let's say we take, we see that and we say, okay, we got to take S-cubed methodology to the max. So what we actually do is we actually do S-cubed methodology so hard that we're like the first 300 slots on social search for the highest intent keywords, highest intent buyer keywords for boudoir in our city across all the social networks. And then let's say that flows onto Google, and we're taking like the first 300 slots on Google for the highest intent keywords for boudoir buyers in our city. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're literally taking up the first 30 pages on Google. So anytime any buyer looks up, types in a high intent buyer keyword into Google, or even any of the social networks, they're only seeing us. They basically got to go to like page 31 on Google to essentially find any of our competitors. And so once that happens, then basically once that happens, and buyers can essentially only find us. They only see us. Who are they going to go with? Obviously us, whose business will be growing, even though there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers. Obviously us. And whose business will be dying and disappearing because they essentially cannot be found at all for anyone searching. All our competitors. So again, this is why I said the SQ methodology is the only thing I've seen that helps boudoir photographers maintain and still grow their business in the face of market saturation. That happens, or I can get on page one of Google relatively quickly, way faster than Brandon. In my estimation, I could probably build that brand about 8x faster normally because we show up so much more on so many other surfaces. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we now have page one visibility. So, we got multiple slots on page one of Google as an initial benefit. Second initial benefit is every new slot we get on page one of Google, we're actually kicking one of our competitors at that slot, push them off to page one or deeper, making so approximately 80% of Google searches can never find them. So we turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, where if they stay there, they're eventually going to exit, be kicked out of the market. So this is an awesome, second initial benefit of using S-cubed methodology. So we're making other peeps invisible. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So BSV, we actually, this is where our GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one on Google comes in. So the GBC universe recommends 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google, because basically every other boudoir photographer page one on Google will have 1 out of 10 slots or 1 slot. So if we see 3, or if a buyer sees 3, they're kind of subconsciously going to think, man, why is Google recommending this person so much? I guess I'll click into them and may not even click on any of our competitors. And second reason GBC Universe recommends 3 out of 10 as the minimum, because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance another boudoir photographer can have 2, which means we also got to be able to dominate them in that case as well, with us having 3. So, and the recommendation of 3 is basically if we got 3 out of 10 page one on Google, we're basically guaranteeing we're not declining. So we're guaranteeing we're either, treading water, so maintaining the business, or growing the business. Most likely growing the business, but we're at least not declining. That's like the big goal here. And finally, a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one, and the false belief, page one equality. Now we have the solution S-Cube's methodology, which achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results doing this. So I wanted to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I know, okay, the exact thing I do for that is S-Cube's methodology. I want to have as many slots page one Google as possible. Let's go down the organic slots. And we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 9, no, I'm not slot 9. Slot 10, me. So, dude, I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots on page one of Google in only 10 days, purely using S-Cubed methodology. So these are the results I've gotten for myself with it. And now we're going to check out this. We're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS, what we've been talking about, boudoir search sameness. All right. The first search, we always do the local search. This is boudoir photographer, Langley Township, British Columbia. So it's out east, some suburb part or whatever of BC. So we got the Google 3-pack. All right. Now we're at the the organic. So we got Klein. All right, this is who we're looking for. So we got 1 slot. And then let's see. All right, Klein again, but that's Langley Branding Photographer. It's not boudoir. We're not relevant to the keywords that we actually searched. So people's brain's actually going to scroll right by this, not even see it because they're searching for boudoir. And this happens like instantly in their brain. So that doesn't count. Going down, going down, going down. All right, so Klein, we got 1 out of 10 here. So that's BSS for this search, the local search. Let's go to the city level search. Now we're searching boudoir photographer, Vancouver, BC. So we're still looking for Klein again. All right, we got Klein here, boudoir, all right. And that's it. We got BSS for both searches. So, as more market saturation happens, higher chance, we'll begin pushed off, that we get pushed off page one to the page 2 of death. And even on page 1, we're looking the same as everyone else, having only, 1 out of 10 links here. So again, this is the false belief of page 1 equality in action, which is actually the most common false belief I'm seeing among boudoir photographers. So if you're a boudoir photographer, disappearing boudoir photographer, you've got boudoir search sameness. You're seeing market saturation coming up. It's going to become more and more saturated. You know that page 1 equality is a false belief. You kind of didn't think about it before, but now you're like, yeah, dude, why is everyone, why is no one trying to take more slots page 1? And you're seeing with the way AI's going, there's going to be taking more people's jobs, pushing more people to become boudoir photographers on top of when they get a new iPhone, they're a new boudoir photographer, or if they get a new camera, they're a new boudoir photographer. And so you're seeing the last time a lot of people lost their jobs was COVID and a whole deluge a boudoir photographer came into the market. So you're saying, all right, that's probably going to happen again. And you want to get prepared. And you're seeing that there's also back-end benefits of this S-cubed methodology that we haven't talked about yet, but you're seeing, hey, this S-cubed methodology, you want to use this, you want to keep rolling with it because you know it can fight back against market saturation faster than any other solution. The only other thing would be, building a brand, but that takes years. And you realizing the other things on the back end of this is, if you got all these kind of bundles of keywords under your business, your brand that you're ranking for, that's a higher chance you show up in the AI search overview when you rank for all these keywords using the S-cubed methodology, and higher chance you rank for AI search as a back-end benefit. ChatGPT search, whatever, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, because they look for kind of bundles of keywords around a business, themes, thematic columns. And so you're like, man, I was able to get page one on Google and page one on all these search, social search, and kind of get the back end benefits of higher probability of AI me being the only one AI overview or being included in AI search. Where the last time I used AI search to search for a boudoir photographer in a city, it gave me 3. Those are ChatGPT. It gave me 3. So a higher chance you become one of the 3 by having all these the highest intent keywords focused, kind of thematically bundled as like pillars underneath your brand name. And you're also noticing that if some other boudoir photographer goes first to start using this in your area, then, well, you can't work with me anymore. So you'd have to figure it all out yourself and then equal them in work to maintain so they don't take over page one, or, most likely need to double them in work to actually make progress at getting more slots on page one that they were taking. So if you decide, okay, it's better just be the first goer and solidify your position, get the highest chance of basically being market saturation proof, busting that false belief of page one inequality, then shoot me a DM when my DM's open. My DMs are closed right now. New patient intake at the hospital is currently closed. But when we do open up for a new patient intake, shoot me a DM, we'll see if you qualify, and I'll have some questions for you.